Hello and welcome to our Bible study of 2 Samuel, and we are now in chapter 17. So we are on the journey of Absalom's goal to try and overthrow David's throne. So let's see what happens. Okay. Moreover, Ahithophel said unto Absalom, Let me now choose out 12,000 men, and I will arise and pursue after David this night. And I will come upon him while he is weary and weak-handed, and will make him afraid. And all the people that are with him shall flee, and I will smite the king only. What a traitor! And I will bring back all the people unto thee. The man whom thou seekest is as if all returned, so all the people shall be in peace. And the saying pleased Absalom well, and all the elders of Israel. So Ahithophel had come up with another plan. So he'd already told him to take David's harem publicly, and now he wants to get rid of David's support system. So we know David is on the run with a big group of people who are still staying loyal to him. So Ahithophel wants to get them, and what his plan is to make him afraid. He wants an army of 12,000 men, scare him. Now we know what happens when you're afraid. Fear affects negatively. It's not eloquently put, but I know what I'm trying to say. So when you make someone afraid, then they're actually much more vulnerable. So then he's going to make all the men scatter and then leave David by himself where he can kill him. And the elders of Israel liked the plan. What? I have no words. The elders of Israel liked this plan. People are wicked. The elders. Wow. Okay. Ooh, right. Then said Absalom, Call now Hushai the Archite also, and let us hear likewise what he saith. So now Hushai is David's inside man, who they don't know. He is double bluffing them. And when Hushai was come to Absalom, Absalom spake unto him, saying, Ahithophel hath spoken after this manner. Shall we do after his saying? If not, speak thou. And Hushai said to Absalom, The counsel that Ahithophel hath given is not good at this time. So he's trying to deflect him and saying, This isn't a good plan, no. For said Hushai, Thou knowest thy father and his men, that they be mighty men, and they be chafed in their minds, as a bear robbed of her whelps in the field. And thy father is a man of war, and will not lodge with the people. Behold, he is hid now in some pit or in some other place, and it will come to pass, when some of them be overthrown at the first, that whosoever heareth it will say, There is a slaughter among the people that follow Absalom. And he also that is valiant, whose heart is at the heart of a lion, as the heart of a lion, shall utterly melt. For all Israel knoweth that thy father is a mighty man, and they which be with him are valiant men. So fortunately, Absalom asked Hushai's advice. Now he didn't have to do that, but that was God's orchestration, I believe. So God's orchestration. Why did I choose that word when it wouldn't fit? God's orchestration to get Absalom to ask Hushai. And he said, no, don't do it. It's not a good idea. So he came up with a reason why that would be a bad idea, and he made up this elaborate story saying, David and his men, they are like incredible warriors, and you don't want to face them on the battlefield. And I thought, they're probably all hiding out in caves, ready to pounce on you, and you just would melt like butter. You'd just be destroyed completely. And so he used a very interesting tactic. He used fear. Just like Ahithophel's plan was to create fear in David, what Hushai did very masterfully is created fear in them. So Hushai came up with an elaborate story to instill fear in them. Very smart. Okay. Therefore I counsel that all Israel be generally gathered unto thee, from Dan even to Beersheba, as the sand that is by the sea for multitude, and that thou go to battle in thine own person. So shall we come up upon him in some place where he shall be found, and we will light upon him as the dew falleth on the ground. And of him and all the men that are with him there shall be not left so much as one. Moreover, if he be gotten into a city, then shall all Israel bring ropes to that city, and we will draw it into the river, and there be not one small stone found there. And Absalom and all the men of Israel said, the counsel of Hushai the Archite is better than the counsel of Ahithophel. Yes! For the Lord had appointed to defeat the good counsel of Ahithophel, to the intent that the Lord might bring evil upon Absalom. That's right. See, that's God's hand right here. God's hand. He orchestrated. See, he can do all things. Even when things look hopeless and you've got your friends betraying you and people you trusted most and you just think, how is this even going to work? God always has a way. And he made it so that they trusted Hushai with the intent that evil would come upon Absalom here. Ooh. Okay, so Hushai had undermined Ahithophel's advice and he presented an alternative idea. And he said, right, Absalom, just wait until you've got a large enough army, and then you could just go for David with like lots of people, and then your army would be his army. And what he did there was he appealed to Absalom's ego. And we all know what happens when you are prideful. So let's say Hushai appealed to Absalom's ego. And he also suggested that thou go into battle in person. He suggested that he should lead his army. Okay, so suggested Absalom should lead the army in person. And then that worked. He took the bait. But the whole point was because Absalom was about to get his comeuppance. Then David said, Hushai unto Zadok and to Abiathar the priests, thus and thus did Ahithophel counsel Absalom and the elders of Israel, and thus I have counselled, or have I counselled. Now therefore send quickly and tell David, saying, lodge not this night in the plains of the wilderness, but speedily pass over, lest the king be swallowed up and all the people that are with him. Now Jordan and Ahimaaz stayed by Enrogel, for they might not be seen to come into the city. And a wench went and told them, and they went and told King David. Nevertheless a lad saw them and told Absalom. But they went both of them away quickly and came to a man's house in Bahurim, which had a well in his court, whither they went down. And the woman took and spread a covering over the well's mouth, and spread ground corn thereon, and the thing was not known. And when Absalom's servants came to the woman to the house, they said, where is Ahimaaz and Jonathan? And the woman said unto them, they be gone over the brook of water. And when they had sought and could not find them, they returned to Jerusalem. So even though Hushai had come up with a new plan, which Absalom was all for, he still knew that Absalom was still a threat. So he came up with a further plan to help the situation. And he told the loyal priests, Zadok and Abiathar, so here, the priests, and he gave them a plan to tell David to not stay over at the Jordan River overnight, but to cross over and keep going. Otherwise, Absalom and his army would come and get him. So the priests got their words to the sons, and they would tell David. So that was their plan, to get the message, to then pass on the message. Life before phones, like they had to do everything manually and walk and actually talk. So because that was so dangerous, unfortunately the priest's sons, who were meant to be the ones telling David, were spotted by one of Absalom's informants. So a lad saw them, So that was an informant here. So someone saw them and they went and told Absalom. However, because God intercedes here, they were found by a woman, and God managed to spare them, and they were able to succeed in their mission to pass on the word. So you can say, however, God ensured the sons were kept safe to pass the message to David. Okay. And it came to pass, after they were departed, that they came up out of the well, and went and told King David, and said unto David, Arise, and pass quickly over the water, for thus hath Ahithophel counselled against you. Then David arose, and all the people that were with him, and they passed over Jordan. By the morning light there lacked not one of them that was gone over Jordan. And when Ahithophel saw that his counsel was not followed, he saddled his ass and arose, and got him home to his house, to his city, and put his household in order, and hanged himself and died, and was buried in the sepulchre of his father. Oh, I didn't see that coming. So the priest's sons they were hiding in the well, and they managed to get the message to David and encourage David and his people to cross the Jordan, the river Jordan. And Ahithophel's opportunity was now gone because God intervened. And he became so distraught by this, he failed in his mission, and because his advice had not been followed and he was betrayed, he committed suicide. Oof. He knew that Absalom was a fool for preferring Hushai's plan. Well, really, it worked out in David's benefit, but he knew that it was going to go against him. And it would only be a matter of time before David was back on the throne, and when that happened, Ahithophel would be done. So he took matters into his own hands. Oh dear. So, Ahithophel advice was not followed, and he knew he was done. I'm just going to write he was done. I know what I mean. He was done, and he ended it. Ooh. Then David came to Mahanaim, and Absalom passed over Jordan, he and all the men of Israel with him. And Absalom made Amasa captain of the host instead of Joab, which Amasa was a man's son, whose name was Ithra, an Israelite, that went to Abigail, the daughter of Nahash, sister of Zeruiah, Job's mother. So Israel and Absalom pitched in the land of Gilead. And it came to pass, when David was come to Mahanaim, that Shobi the son of Nahash of Rabbah, the children of Ammon, and Machir the son of Amiel of Lodebar, and Barzillai the Gileadite of Rogelim. It gets very complicated when we hear all these names and where they're from, doesn't it? They brought beds and basins and earthen vessels and wheat and barley and flour and parched corn and beans and lentils and parched pots and honey and butter and sheep and cheese of kind for David and for the people that were with him to eat. For they said, the people is hungry, weary and thirsty in the wilderness. So they'd crossed the Jordan and they'd arrived at Mahanaim, and so Joab had been replaced, so Amasa was his new commander now. So they had friends there and they refreshed them. So they were refreshed by their friends across the river. And Amasa, new commander. Okay. Ooh. So we've got Ahithophel, his counsellor, realised that he's got no match on David because God's involved. And when God's involved, you're done. It's just not going to happen your way unless it's God's way. So let's see what happens next. Ooh, 18 looks like a juicy one, quite long. Ooh, okay, so I'll be patient, I won't look. Sometimes I read the heading and I'm like, oh, I want to know. But I won't, I will wait till tomorrow. So I hope you enjoyed that. Please let me know any comments or questions that you have. I do love reading your thoughts, and I will speak to you tomorrow. Bye!